So I made a video the other day about discipline and willpower and self-control, and how lack of willpower is usually not the limiting factor when it comes to achievement in any endeavor. And I talked about a study where they followed 159 college students throughout their semester. And what the researchers did is they looked at their progress toward their goal achievement in comparison to how much they used self-control and how much temptation they experienced. And what the study found was that there was no evidence that the students who accomplished more because they were better at applying self-control. Rather, the students who accomplished more were simply just faced with less temptation. So it's not about how much self-control you have, it's about how much you have to use that self-control, right? So the more you have to use self-control, the more depleted you get, and the more you're going to give into temptation when you're faced with it, right? And when it comes to achieving fitness related goals, I can certainly attest to this in my own personal experience and in my experience coaching my clients. So a lot of guys, they tend to blame their failures on the fact that they lack discipline or they lack willpower. But the problem is that you do not have a plan to follow that removes the need for you to have to apply so much discipline and so often, right? So when you look at the anatomy of a successful fitness transformation program, any program that's going to lead to fast results is a program that has every single step mapped out in detail and every single decision made ahead of time. So basically you're faced with as little temptation and as little decisions as possible, like day to day, week to week, etc. Right? And then that program needs to turn those good decisions that produce the transformative results into habits. So that's the key. Because when you think about it, what is a habit, right? A habit is something that you do regularly with little to no thought. It happens unconsciously and automatically. So knowing this, your goal should be to remove as many bad habits that lead to you being out of shape and building as many habits as you can that produce the results that you want. So in the book Atomic Habits, James Clear outlines the construct of a habit, right? So obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. Okay, so that's the construct of a good habit that you're going to stick to, right? So it's not possible to make every single habit you try to build into your lifestyle to stay into amazing shape. It's impossible to have every habit include all four of those factors. But your goal should be to include as many of those four factors as possible, right? So if your goal is to lose body fat and build muscle, what are the core non-negotiable things that you need to do regularly to produce results? Well, number one, you need to work out, right? You need to train at least 3 days per week. Number two, you need to stick to a nutrition plan. And number three, you need to track your progress and stay aware of where you're at in comparison to what your goal is, right? So how can you apply habits to make sure that all three of those things are happening in each three of those categories? So for each one, the list to start is pretty short, right? So when we look at training, schedule your workouts into your calendar ahead of time and try to go roughly at the same time every day, right? That's going to help make it a habit. And number two, have your gym clothes, your gym gear packed into your gym bag, or at least have it laid out, right? So that eliminates the decision of you having to get stuff ready before you go to the gym, right? In your nutrition, there's a little more, but it's all extremely simple. So have your meal plan mapped out to a T. That's one of the biggest ones, right? If you don't know what you're going to eat, then you're faced with way too many decisions throughout the day. When you go grocery shopping, and this is really where it starts, right? When you go grocery shopping, go with a list and buy only the food on the list. And then lastly, always prep your meals ahead of time, right? So prepped means do everything you can, but eat the food and warm it up if needed, right? So if I were, and this has been a scenario that I've been in the past. If you have a job where, now I work at home, but if you have to go somewhere to a job, have everything prepped and portioned and weighed out in a meal prep container. So all you got to do is warm it up, right? Like anyone who prepares a lunch does, but having the meal plan is really the differentiating factor here. Some guys don't even prep anything, and then you end up having to eat like fast food, right? So habits for progress tracking. These are really simple. Weigh yourself daily. Gather your weekly average once a week. So your weekly average body weight, the accumulation of your total daily weigh-ins for comparison. And this is an important one because if you just weigh yourself once a week, then you're going to get a bunch of water weight noise. Track your weight daily so you can get an average that'll give you the actual like true number of how you are gaining or losing muscle or fat tissue, right? And then also for tracking, track all of your food in MyFitnessPal to make sure you're hitting your macro targets. Now, that's not 100% necessary if you're following a meal plan to a T, but if you're going off plan and you're kind of making changes because you need to flex your diet for whatever reason, it's important to track your meal plan in MyFitnessPal. And if you have a meal plan that you're following, it's really easy to do. You can essentially just copy and paste each day over. And then that way, when you do need to make a change, all you have to do is make an adjustment to your baseline meal plan, right? So super simple, super simple. Another super helpful tip to add these habits into your routine from the book Atomic Habits is implementation intentions, right? So when a lot of guys set the goal of trying to create new habits, they make the mistake of just thinking, yeah, like let's say the habit is packing your gym bag every day. Yeah, I'm just going to pack my gym bag. And then that's the end of it. The problem with this is you're leaving out all the details, right? So when and where are you going to do it? Okay, so there's three ways that you can use these implementation intentions. So the first one is, and probably one of the most effective ones, is habit stacking. So everyone already has daily habits. You already have a laundry list of things that you do on a daily basis habitually, right? So it's easy to add a new habit by just stacking the new habit that you want to implement with another habit that you have already established into your daily routine, right? So a good example of this is daily weigh-ins. So what's the first thing that people do in the morning? You use the bathroom, right? Whether it's a number one or a number two, you probably use the bathroom first thing in the morning, right? So after you use the bathroom in the morning, step on your scale and record your weight, right? So for me, I have my scale literally right beside my bed. So I wake up in the morning, I go to the bathroom, which is also in my room. I step on my scale, and then I come out into my office where I am now. I have a whiteboard right there. I have 1 to 7, and I just write my weight on there every day. Which is another helpful thing, is like if you can make things physical. So the fact that I'm writing it on a whiteboard is really helpful as well, because that makes it more of an ingrained habit, because now I'm used to stepping on my scale, walking into my office and writing my body weight down. And then I have it on my whiteboard, and then I put it into my spreadsheets, right? If you don't have a habit to stack with, the second implementation intention strategy is just to simply use time and location. So for meal prep, I will meal prep on Sunday at 3 p.m. And if you need to, set an alarm in your phone to go off at Sunday at 3 p.m., reoccurring until the habit is ingrained, right? So like an example for that for me is every night at 6 p.m. or at 6:30 p.m., I put on my blue light blockers to help prepare myself for sleep. There's nothing I can stack that habit with because I'm usually just working away at that time. So for the last 4 years, I have not missed a night that I've put on my blue light blockers. And the reason being is because I have an alarm in my phone that goes off every single day at 6:30 p.m. that says, put on your blue light blockers, right? And then the last implementation strategy is to manipulate your environment. So a good example of this would be drinking water. So if you don't drink enough water, simply fill up a water bottle every night and place it in an obvious place that you're not going to miss in the morning. And then you seeing it first thing in the morning is your trigger to drink the water, right? So I do this every night. I fill up a 1 liter bottle of water because I want to get my first liter in early because it's easy. So I fill this up, and then one of the first things that I do in the morning is just chug that basically, right? So if you're a guy who's been trying to get in shape, but you've been struggling for a long time and you feel like it can't be anything other than the fact that you just lack discipline, that's likely not the case. You don't need more discipline. You need a plan that requires less, that doesn't require as much discipline to execute on consistently.